Hi, Martin here. Today I'm going to show you how to install a battery disconnect switch. In a previous video, I took the battery that was up front here and moved it to underneath the back seat. Well, I said I was going to install a battery disconnect switch. You know, I work on the vehicle a lot, doing different mods, and for safety reasons, you should disconnect the battery. And this is going to make it so much simpler. Because the way I got the battery now, it's got a cover on it, a little harder to get to, to just simply disconnect it. And I just rather do this for several reasons, other than just having to work on it. But let me give you a shot of where the battery was, and then where it is now, and then we'll get to work. So you see right here is where the battery used to be located, and now I moved it to underneath the back seat. Alright, with the seat flipped up here, and I went ahead and removed this portion of the seat just for the installation purposes. And here's my battery right here. And there we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this the positive cable that I've got here is a 1 gauge positive cable. And it came out of a Dodge Magnum 05 or newer. Now, I love the way this connector's on here and designed, and I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to break the positive. And besides, anytime they tell you to disconnect the battery, they tell you to disconnect the negative side first, then the positive. And then when you return the cables, put the positive on first, then the negative. Well, that's why I'm going to put this on the negative side. And I personally think that's the best way to do it. That way you're disconnecting the negative side first, and I don't have to sit there and mess with a 1 gauge cable, cutting that, re-terminating it. Instead, I got this very short negative side over here, and it's the one that's in here right now is probably a 6 gauge. I'm going to go ahead and put a 4 gauge in, and we're going to mount that switch right over here underneath the back seat right here. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, first things we're going to do is just go ahead and remove the negative cable that we have in here right now. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm using this washer I've got laying around, and it's big enough that it's actually bigger diameter than the switch itself. And I want to use this as a guide for my plasma cutter because I want to make a nice neat hole. Alright, that was easy. Now you can see the switch will be able to pass right through here. All now we got to do is drill one more hole. Okay, we need to remove this lever. Just a single screw. And I'm also going to take this nut off, this jam nut. This is great if you got, let's say, a thinner piece of metal that you're going through and you didn't want too much of the switch to go through whatever you're putting it in. But I've got the carpet down here with the padding, and that's adding a lot to it. So I'm going to remove that as well. So all now we got to do is drill that hole right in there. Now with that hole cut in, I'm going to just take a Sharpie and mark where the post is, so I know where to cut the carpet. I had to take some of the pad out of the back side of that carpet because the post is basically not long enough. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and install the switch. I'm using a 1-inch socket here. Hold the switch on the back side so it doesn't spin. Once you got that tightened, reinstall the lever. Now for one of the cables, this one right here was one of the ground cables originally that was up front. I already cut it to length, you know, reusing this terminal, which I had to drill out ever so slightly to match the 3/8 here. Now what I'm going to do is run it back here like so. I don't want to bring it right through here because you're having to bend the cable so much and then you're taking a chance on it getting cut on here. And then we're going to run it through here. And now I'll just showing you how I went about, you know, I got the cable length figured out. I'm reusing one of these battery terminals that originally came on a Dodge Magnum or like the 300s. Okay, like that. So I'm going to go ahead and solder this up. We'll have that cable done. Then we just need to make a nice short one. It's going to connect to the other post, come around, and connect to this ground right here that I had the other one hooked to. And that is also, I'm reusing a ground cable that I had off of this vehicle right here. So we'll just come around like so, and back to that. Okay, for the one end that we're hooking to the switch, I had to get a terminal with a 3/8 inch hole, and then we're going to solder that on to this right here, under this cable. That's going to go to the chassis ground. Alright, then I had a piece of heat shrink on there, and that's just going to make it look a little better. I'll shrink that down. Now I'm going to do the exact same to the other cable, other than I'm putting a 5/16 ring terminal on it. I'll run this through this grommet here. Now it's left, throw the switch. My dome lights came back on. We're all good. Alright, well there you have it. Got the seats reinstalled. There's the finished product. I mean, technically it's out of sight, out of mind. I know where it's at, you know. I'm glad I got it here. That way, you know, if I'm doing some work on the vehicle that requires you to disconnect the battery, you know, to make things safe, it's easy as flipping this switch and it's done. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, I'd appreciate the thumbs up, and if you haven't ever subscribed to me before, hit that subscribe button right down there, and there's that little bell symbol right next to it. Hit on that too, and that way you get notifications of any upcoming videos as I post them. Alright, well, thanks for watching.